We all have knockbacks in our life, and I guess how we deal with them kind of moulds our future. But some people have more knockbacks than others. And there's a guy I want to talk to you about, Tim Glick. Now, he's a much loved and respected member of the Team USA group. Tim certainly had a few knockbacks, and he's bounced back. He openly says that metal detecting saved his life. So I'm going to hand you back over to the USA, where Dave picks up Tim's story.
Most people in the metal detecting community would say it's an exciting hobby. To some, the hobby has become a way of life. But for one man in a small town in western Ohio, metal detecting truly saved his life. As you surf the many metal detecting Facebook groups, one name seems to stand out. His posts are filled with outstanding finds and historical facts. But most of all, in between the relics and coins, are meaningful, inspirational life quotes. Just outside of Columbus, Ohio, resides Tim Glick, aka the Junkman, a longtime treasure hunter. Dave DiNatale was fortunate to spend a few days in Tim's world, but to really know the man, we need to take a journey back to where it all began.
(1974), I got a White's machine. Wanted to enhance my ability to collect coins, and I thought, well, I wanted to think that I could maybe get treasures.
At the young age of 11, Tim purchased his first metal detector with the money he earned mowing neighborhood lawns. His eyes were opened wide with grandeurs of becoming a professional treasure hunter. As Tim and his friends grew older, their interests changed, and treasure hunting took a back seat to fishing and hunting. At a young age of 22, Tim settled down and married Cindy. They had 2 children, Clayton and Kelsey, and Tim was living the American dream.
We came from the city to what I consider the most beautiful place on the Big Darby. I thought we lived in paradise for a lot of years. And I'll never forget how things changed from what I thought would be a day that you never think that would ever happen. And of course that was, Clay getting in a car accident and how life changed. I remember leaving the house, going to work, which I worked in Columbus, Ohio, right downtown, and getting a phone call from my daughter that something really bad had happened. He left out of our house, which is just down the road, right out front, and he pulled out in front of a truck. I'll never forget the helicopter sitting there quiet. Couldn't understand, what was happening. He spent 16 days at Grant Hospital, and then he died. You never want to lose your child.
The family was devastated. Tim's life was turned upside down. His friends stopped coming around because they didn't know how to help Tim with his pain. He spent most of the time by the roadside memorial he made for his son at the exact spot of the crash. To deal with his immense sadness, Tim bought a motorcycle and joined a local club.
After Clay had died and I just couldn't find my way, I thought, well, why don't I get in, buy a Harley? And as I started riding motorcycles, I wanted to do that. It was something to get away from, the general thoughts. And so I joined a club.
Tim was aimlessly trying to find meaning in his life, and his hard living was taking a toll on him. His health was declining. Soon Tim suffered 2 strokes in 1 week. He needed a way out. He was living way too close to the edge. It was a divine intervention from a friend and leader of the club, Junk, that gave Tim a wake-up call. At the time, JY was dying of cancer, and he took Tim aside and told him, You're way too smart and too good a guy to be here.
It wasn't in my heart, really, and I had one of my closest kind of friends from the club, and of course he ended up kind of showing me a different direction, trying to show me the faith of what God might have for me. And he ended up saying, yeah, maybe you ought to be in this club.
Tim made the decision to heed JY's advice, and he left the club. Once again, Tim was at a crossroads.
I can't keep living this way, and I thought, I need to get out of here. I needed to try to find something that was worthy of something. And I think that was the change that I started thinking that I wanted to get involved in metal detecting, really.
Tim's health issues continued. He suffered a third stroke and developed skin cancer and a heart condition. With the help of his wife Cindy, affectionately known as his hippie girlfriend, his daughter Kelsey, and his faith, Tim's life and health started to turn around. Tim had an army of angels guiding him to happiness.
13K was a code to people that understand that it's possible to get through some of your darkest places. 13 is my son's jersey. He played basketball. K was my daughter Kelsey. Kelsey is right there with me. Clay is my angel son. He always looks down, and that is kind of what the Army of Angels is all about.
With his army behind him, Tim went back to his boyhood passion of metal detecting, and for the next 15 years, he dug deep into the past to explore his Ohio roots dating back to the 1790s. As they talked about the history of the area, one name continually came up: Jonathan Alder. There were statues of Alder at the fairgrounds, log cabins that were relocated, his name plaques all over town. In fact, the school and school buses even donned his name.
Jonathan Alder was a famous pioneer. At a young age, he was taken from his family by the Indians in Virginia and brought to the Darby Valley in Ohio.
Jonathan Alder was raised by Indians. At age 21, he left the Indian tribe and was reunited with his mother and brother. He married and eventually had 12 children. For the past few years, Tim has spent thousands of hours researching everything he can to track Jonathan Alder. He makes frequent visits to the courthouse to get his hands on old plot maps and historical records. His research has even unveiled a startling fact. Tim's own ancestors, the Seidners, were close family friends with the Ohio legend.
I have a client that comes in and he does researching in that. He's a metal detector type guy. He looks for stuff back in the 1800s. When he comes in, he gives my office the information he's looking for. We go back into our older books and we get on the old county maps. And once we find the location and I can pinpoint it from back in the 1800s and come forward even to today's date, we know we have the location. And then kind of gives him a ballpark where he can go out with his metal detector.
Tim has amassed acres upon acres of prime Alder and Seidner land. His strong relationship with local farmers has made this possible. When David visited Tim, they used this information and set out to hunt a few of the sites.
Right there, 12-gauge shotgun shell. There you go.
He's even found artifacts on Alder land that can be traced back to his time in the Darby Valley.
This is a 1809 Prussian musket, and it was a gun part that came out of a Jonathan Alder site.
By his side is Tim's detector of choice, the XP Deus. He changes out coils depending on his location, and he absolutely loves to take novice hunters out with him. He'll pair two Deus headphones together to one remote so that he can teach tone recognition to the new detectorist.
Great things about XP Deus headphones is that they can link up.
With the army of angels behind him every step of the way, Tim is saving an amazing amount of Ohio history. His collection represents bucket listers and once-in-a-lifetime finds for most of us.
Metal detecting has saved my life, and in so many ways. There's always angels around, and so when I get out in the field and that, I mean, it's a wonderful thing.